It's game day, Broncos fans, and we got hit with a double dose of good news. Welcome into the Broncos Breakdown by Chat Sports. My name is Moose. I am psyched about tonight's game between the Broncos and the Cincinnati Bengals on Monday Night Football, but I'm even more psyched to tell you that two divisional opponents for the Broncos lost in Week 4, and I have to say, Jackson Dart, I love you. I won't love you when the Broncos play you, but I love you because you went in and you beat Justin Herbert and that makeshift offensive line, and it felt really, really good. Same with the Chicago Bears. Can I give you some love? The blocked field goal to beat the Raiders as time expires, or sort of. There was like 30 seconds left on the clock. Either way, do me a favor, get those L's going for the Raiders and the Chargers. And let's just highlight that blocked kick for 1 second, because isn't this just how the Raiders lose football games? I mean, if I could make this into a frame and just plaster it on the wall every time I walked into the Broncos studio, I would feel so good. Too bad I can't, but this memory will live in my head, at least rent-free for the next couple of weeks. Let's get back to the Broncos. Tonight, we get back into the thick of it. And you're probably wondering, why are the Raiders and the Chargers losing? Good news. Well, outside of the obvious that we don't like them because they're in our division, Zach Stevens put it eloquently put that if the Broncos beat the Bengals on Monday Night Football, we are only one game back of the LA Chargers after they started off the year 3-0. That means we will also be tied with the Kansas City Chiefs in our division. And I think it's important to highlight just how awesome the loss for the Chargers was, because if they beat the Giants, which everybody predicted them to do, they are 4-0, and even if the Broncos win tonight, they are still 2 games back of that first place spot. And I get it, it's still early. But every single game, and football fans know this better than any fan on the planet, every single game matters. There is only 7 of them. So currently, this is what the AFC West standings look like today, Monday, before the Broncos play the Bengals. First place, the Chargers are at 3-1. The Kansas City Chiefs beat the Baltimore Ravens. They looked really, really good, granted against a really bad defense. And then the Broncos with that little asterisk because they haven't played yet. And the Vegas Raiders, who, again, lost in spectacular fashion, now sit at the very bottom of the AFC West. If the Broncos win tonight, here is what the standings will look like. The potential AFC West standings if the Broncos win. You go 2-2, you're tied with the Kansas City Chiefs, and then you have a bulk of easier games coming up after Week 5 against the Philadelphia Eagles. You play across the pond against the Jets, who are 0-3. You're playing a rookie quarterback in Jackson Dart and the New York Giants. I think that juice will fade very, very quickly. And then you play the Dallas Cowboys. And the Dallas Cowboys have one of, if not the worst defense in the entirety of the NFL. Granted, they took and went toe-to-toe with the Green Bay Packers last night, ended up in a tie, 40-40. The AFC playoff contenders right now, by the way, look like this. This is pretty much in order. Moose, it's only Week 4. Why are we talking about this? Well, I think it's important to note just how close this race is going to be for the rest of the year. You are going to see teams like the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Indianapolis Colts battling for that position. Same with the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, I think they're going to fade because they don't have Joe Burrow for the next 3 months. But the Patriots are still a team that you have to watch out for. Obviously, the Chiefs. And I don't trust that the Ravens are going to be a bad team this year. They may not be amazing, but they could easily finish at 10-7 or 9-8 and still vie for a wild card position if Pittsburgh shits the bed. So, out of the talk about other teams, let's focus back on the Navy and Orange. Let's get the Monday Night Football vibes going. If you're ready for Monday Night Football, spam Broncos in the comments section down below. Next, I'm going to tell you about 2 players that historically have played great on Monday Night Football, but also could be in for some very, very big games for the Denver Broncos tonight. Now, before I do that, I'm going to tell you about our friends over at Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every single day, but on Prize Picks, Being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it is good to be right. Prize Picks, by the way, is the only app that offers stacks, meaning you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. Want to pick more on Josh Allen's passing yards? You can do that. How about the rush yards? How about the touchdowns? Same with that. You can now pick all of them in the same lineup only on Prize Picks. Follow other Prize Picks players directly on the app. Copy their lineups in one easy click. Here is what mine looks like today. Obviously, Jalen Hurts hit on my max discount play. That was more than half a passing yard. But Courtland Sutton and Will Lutz on the more tonight. And if both of those hit, I win my money. And that looks fantastic for you. But it doesn't have to look like mine. All you have to do is download the Prize Picks app today. And use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. So let's talk about the big-time Broncos. Courtland Sutton, I believe, is in for a big game, and J.K. Dobbins. Dobbins has been kind of like the focal point for the Broncos this past week, talking about how we need to feed him more and more. And even Sean Payton kind of alluded to this, that they were going to go run heavy and really try to establish a strong first-half running attack against the Cincinnati Bengals. And J.K. Dobbins is playing like your best running back, and it isn't close. We talked all offseason about R.J. Harvey and what his upside is. He still has it, but J.K. Dobbins is living it right now. Did you know that Dobbins is on pace currently for 1,258 yards in 2025? I don't know exactly off the top of my head if that would be a career year for him, but it would definitely be within the top 3 of rushing yards per season, considering majority of the seasons he has not remained healthy. So I think you're seeing the very best of what J.K. Dobbins is right now. And the stats don't lie. They back those up as well. In 2025 so far, even with a limited first-half rushing attack, J.K. Dobbins has been sensational. 41 carries, 222 yards. If you wanted to do the math, that's 5.4 a pop. 3 touchdowns at a PFF grade of 65.8, which ranks out of 45 qualifying running backs, 21st in the NFL. Here's what I think about J.K. Dobbins. He's clearly, when you give him a good blocking scheme, he is maybe top 10. If you're asking him to do everything like a Bijan Robinson or like a Saquon Barkley or like a Christian McCaffrey, he's not going to do it. But what I also find interesting is that he's not just a north to south runner like everybody has been saying to use him. Did you know that when he runs through the B and the C gap, he's got 11 carries for 59 yards in 2025. That's 5.3 yards a carry. That's almost right at his league average or his season average. And if you look at the wide zone scheme running that Sean Payton has been trying to implement with not only J.K. Dobbins, but with R.J. Harvey, you can see that B and C gap right there between the guard and the tackle, and then the tackle and that Y position, which would be your second tight end. So this looks like, well, you got tackle, guard, center, guard, tackle, and then there's that other tight end. So this is actually not a dual tight end set. But if you can run through that guard and that tackle and that tight end, that's where he's going to make his money happen. He doesn't necessarily have to go between the center and the guards all the time. That A gap is actually one of statistically his worst spots this year. So I think if you can get J.K. Dobbins and R.J. Harvey going outside, you're going to see a lot of success today. That could be a wide zone scheme run. That could be a pitch play, et cetera, et cetera. I think this is exactly what the Broncos need to do tonight in the run game. Now let's move over to Courtland Sutton. Courtland Sutton, more historically as the second dose of good news for the Denver Broncos, has been outstanding on Monday Night Football. Don't believe me? Well, first of all, let's go back to his last 5 games. There's only been 4 this year. We'll go back to the last regular season game against the Kansas City Chiefs in 2024. He scored a touchdown in 4 out of his last 5 games. That's fantastic. He's also been, like I told you at the beginning of preseason, this is going to be one of his best years yet. Bo entering into year 2, just got the contract extension. He's looking to perform. The numbers also look fantastic. They don't jump off the page at you when I say fantastic, I don't mean like, oh my God, league leading. But for Courtland Sutton, 13 receptions, 185 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 14.2 per reception. For a quarterback in Bo Nix that has struggled so far this year to gain any sort of consistency, Courtland Sutton has been a bright spot in this Broncos passing attack. And like I said, historically on Monday Night Football, he's been outstanding. He's played in 7 Monday Night Football games in his career. He has 50-plus yards receiving in 6 out of those 7 games. Picture of consistency, which is more than I can say about the Broncos' other wide receivers so far this year. We've seen Troy Franklin have a big game against the Indianapolis Colts. We have not seen any bit of Pat Bryant. And I'm not going to lie to you, Marvin Mims has been disappointing this year. He's been really good in the return game, but as a wide receiver, I need to see more. He had his opportunity against the Chargers last week, and he did not play nearly well enough. But enough about being negative, because I do believe one of those guys is going to show up tonight. I hope it's Pat Bryant. I'm excited for tonight. I think this is the beginning of the season right here. I'd heard an interesting statistic from Colin Cowherd as I was listening to his show this morning, who said, statistically speaking, Bo Nix and Sean Payton are not good in September. And he gave some weird stat, and I wish I would have listened further so that I could have put it in this show for you, but I didn't. Shame on Moose. I'll get better at that. He said something like Sean Payton's win-loss record and Bo Nix statistically in September from last year and this year compared to October, November, December of last year is night and day difference. He is a much better late season quarterback. And I think you're going to see more of the same going forward in 2025. So pick a player for me that is going to go off tonight. Courtland Sutton, type CS. J.K. Dobbins, type J.K. And if there's another player or any other player that you believe actually goes off, could be a defensive player as well, type OP in the comment section down below. Week 4 is officially upon us. And like I said, I am stoked for tonight. We'll be live at 6 p.m. Central, which is 5 p.m. Mountain Time. If you want to join us, we've got some sweet prizes and a brand new Broncos helmet that we're going to be auctioning off on the channel. Until later tonight, Broncos country, mile high salute to you. Be cool.